The thought of an intruder standing outside your home feels abstract and distant until you find yourself barefoot in a dimly lit hallway at midnight, clutching your phone in cold hands while listening to the slow, measured breathing of someone waiting on the other side of your front door. It all began on a rainy Tuesday evening with a simple order of Thai food. I had moved into my second-floor apartment just 3 weeks earlier, seeking a quiet sanctuary above a sleepy row of neighborhood shops after a long, exhausting breakup with my ex-boyfriend Louis. The building was wonderfully ordinary, smelling faintly of citrus carpet cleaner and roasted garlic from the kitchens below. For the first time in 4 years, the space was entirely my own, filled with the gentle hum of my refrigerator and the soothing patter of rain against the glass. Exhausted from a long day at work with my shoes soaked through from the storm, I decided to skip cooking and ordered green curry, steaming jasmine rice, vegetarian spring rolls, and a cold soda through my usual delivery app, which promised an arrival time of 25 minutes. I changed into dry flannel pajamas, washed my face and settled onto the sofa with my phone, wrapping myself in a blanket as the warm amber glow of a nearby street lamp spilled across the living room rug. At exactly 11:15, the sharp electronic chime of the intercom shattered the apartment's quiet rhythm. When I pressed the talk button and spoke into the receiver, a soft, muffled voice answered, claiming to be the delivery driver and correctly stating my second-floor flat number before I even had the chance to confirm it. Thinking nothing of it since drivers always receive the apartment details on their digital manifests, I buzzed him through the secure front entrance and waited by the heavy wooden door of my flat. A minute later, 3 gentle raps sounded against the wood. When I pulled the door inward, I was instantly taken aback by how close he stood to the threshold. Rather than stepping back onto the landing like most couriers, his tall frame loomed in the doorway, shrouded in a dripping black raincoat with the hood pulled low over his forehead, obscuring everything except a set of pale lips and shadowed jawline. He asked for me by name in a quiet, familiar tone, handed over the insulated thermal bag, and then lingered as I thanked him. Just as I began to push the door shut, he placed a gloved hand lightly against the doorframe and apologized, claiming he had forgotten my drink in his vehicle downstairs. Glancing down into the open bag, I noted the warm containers of curry and rice, but saw no soda. I assured him politely that it was completely fine and told him not to worry about the missing beverage, but he insisted in a flat, monotone voice that he would return with it immediately, turning on his heel and vanishing into the stairwell before I could object. A sudden wave of unease washed over me, prompting me to close the door swiftly and slide the heavy steel chain lock into place with a definitive click. Living alone has a way of amplifying the resonance of every small interaction, and something about the way he had invaded my personal space and spoken my name made the hairs on my arms stand up. I carried the fragrant food over to the coffee table, trying to laugh off my rising anxiety as I unpacked the warm containers. Underneath the tray of spring rolls, however, I discovered a creased, unevenly torn slip of plain white paper that had nothing to do with the restaurant's printed receipt. As I unfolded the scrap, my breath caught in my throat at the hurried, handwritten scrawl detailing my private life. The note clearly identified me as Aaron M. in Flat 6, stated with chilling precision that I lived alone without a dog, noted that my front door relied solely on a basic chain lock, observed that my bedroom window faced the dimly lit service alley, and recorded that I was usually home after 7 in the evening. My first instinct was to rationalize the terror, immediately suspecting that Louis was playing a misguided, elaborate prank to remind me how vulnerable I was without him. Hands shaking, I dialed his number, pacing the length of my rug as the phone rang 5 times before he finally answered with a groggy, confused greeting. When I demanded to know if he had hired someone to deliver a threatening note to my apartment, his tired defensiveness quickly transformed into genuine alarm as he swore on his family that he had nothing to do with it and urged me to call the authorities immediately. As if cued by Louis's warning, 3 soft, polite knocks echoed through my front door, vibrating through the quiet hallway with agonizing slowness. Freeze-framed in the center of my living room with Louis shouting my name through the receiver, I heard the muffled voice of the driver calling out through the wood, promising that he had brought the forgotten drink and offering to leave it on the mat. Stepping silently across the floorboards, I pressed my eye against the cold brass peephole, expecting to see the hooded figure waiting on the landing, but the fisheye lens revealed an entirely empty, amber-lit corridor. A second later, my phone vibrated against my palm with an automated alert from the delivery app stating that my driver was at the door, followed instantly by an incoming call from an unknown number. Driven by a desperate need to understand what was happening, I pressed the phone to my ear and breathed a shaky greeting, only to freeze when the driver's calm, distorted voice whispered through the speaker, scolding me for reading the receipt before eating my meal. I dropped the device onto the carpet, where the call remained active, broadcasting the rhythmic, mechanical sound of his breathing into the room as the brass door handle of my apartment began to depress with excruciating slowness. Down and up, down and up. The lever moved as the person on the other side tested the latch with practiced, quiet pressure, trying to avoid making any unnecessary noise that might alert the neighbors. Trembling with adrenaline, I severed the open call on my screen and dialed emergency services, whispering my address and situation to the comm operator, who instructed me to retreat to a locked room immediately. As I backed away toward the bathroom, the brass letterbox at the bottom of my front door lifted with a sharp metallic scrape, opening a dark, narrow gap near the floorboards as if someone were kneeling on the hallway carpet to peer inside. The letterbox snapped shut, and the agonizing sequence of 3 polite knocks resumed, echoing through the apartment just as I locked myself inside the bathroom and pressed my back against the tiled wall. The operator's steady voice grounded me as she asked critical questions about my safety and building layout, which suddenly triggered a terrifying realization. The handwritten note had explicitly mentioned my bedroom window facing the service alley, and I had left that very window cracked open earlier in the evening to air out the smell of fresh paint. My heart hammered against my ribs as I confessed to the dispatcher that an alternate entry point was unsecured, making the sudden oppressive silence that fell over the apartment all the more suffocating. Through the thin bathroom door, I heard the faint, distinct creak of my bedroom door hinges slowly pivoting open, followed by the subtle rhythmic shift of wooden floorboards groaning under the weight of slow, deliberate footsteps moving down the hallway toward my hiding spot. I scanned the small bathroom for anything to defend myself with, grabbing a heavy ceramic soap dish from the sink and wrapping my fingers tightly around its edges as the shadow of a pair of boots settled beneath the crack of the bathroom door. The silver turnlock on the bathroom door was a flimsy privacy latch never designed to withstand genuine force, and as the handle dipped once and then twice, the man's voice drifted through the wood, chillingly conversational as he lamented that my refusal to take the drink had made the situation far more complicated than it needed to be. A sudden heavy thump shook the frame as he pressed his shoulder into the timber, causing the thin wood around the latch to splinter and crack with a sharp report that echoed my own mounting terror. Bracing my heels against the porcelain bathtub, I prepared to throw my entire body weight against the door, but just as the barrier threatened to give way, a thunderous crash erupted from the lower stairwell, accompanied by powerful voices booming out identifiers from the local police department. The shifting pressure against the bathroom door vanished instantly as heavy tactical boots charged down the hallway, culminating in a chaotic, thudding collision outside my room as 2 responding officers tackled the intruder to the carpet before he could retreat toward the open bedroom window. The door was pulled open by a uniformed officer who swiftly ushered me out into the safety of the corridor, repeating words of reassurance that felt completely detached from the reality of the trembling man being handcuffed on my rug. At the precinct, detectives revealed that the man who had invaded my home was operating under the false name Daniel Price, an impostor who had systematically tracked delivery routes and targeted single residents living in secure buildings. He was not the legitimate courier assigned to my order. The real driver, a woman named Melissa, had been discovered safely locked inside the cargo area of her delivery van 3 streets away after her insulated bag, phone, and uniform jacket were swiped from the restaurant pickup counter while she was distracted. A search of the suspect's vehicle uncovered a portable printer and a thick stack of custom-printed receipts bearing names, addresses, and detailed surveillance notes of various women across the city, several of which had already been crossed off with dark ink. Exhausted and thoroughly shaken, I spent the remainder of the night on Lewis's living room sofa, watching the morning light slowly filter through his curtains while trying to convince myself that the arrest marked the end of the nightmare. By noon, I had permanently deleted the delivery application from my phone, watched the icon vanish from my screen, and made firm arrangements to break my lease and relocate to a different city where no one knew my routines. Just as a fragile sense of security began to settle in my chest, my darkened phone screen illuminated with a familiar, impossible notification from the deleted app, cheerfully announcing that my driver was nearby. I stared at the digital map in paralyzed horror as a tiny bicycle icon navigated down Lewis's residential street, coming to a precise stop directly outside his front gate before the physical doorbell chimed throughout the house. Louis blanched and approached the living room window, peering through the heavy drapes only to report in a trembling voice that the front porch and street were completely empty of any person, vehicle, or bicycle. A second alert vibrated in my palm confirming that the driver was at the door, instantly followed by a final system message that simply read, "Forgot your drink." 3 days have passed since that afternoon, and I am currently writing this account from a nondescript hotel room 300 miles away, registered under an assumed name paid for with cash, while cybercrime investigators examine my cloned device for sophisticated tracking malware. Despite leaving all my electronics behind and severing every known digital tie, the audio logs from Louis's security camera continue to haunt my thoughts, having recorded no physical presence on his porch, only the inexplicable, isolated sound of 3 soft, polite knocks echoing against the wood. Whether the arrested man was merely a technician for a larger, coordinated network of digital stalkers, or whether he deployed an automated ghost script designed to terrorize targets long after his capture, remains an unanswered question that keeps me waking at every creak of the floorboards. If you ever find yourself ordering food late on a quiet evening and the courier messages to say they left behind your beverage, tell them through the intercom to leave the package on the welcome mat and walk away. Do not unlock the deadbolt, do not step out into the corridor to check the floor, and never trust the distorted safety of your peephole when the hallway falls silent. I know this with absolute certainty because just last night, at 10:45, a fresh, unevenly torn receipt scraped silently across the carpet beneath my locked hotel room door, integrated seamlessly among the accurate notes regarding my new alias, my third-floor room number, and my solitary travel status, were 4 neatly penned words reminding me that I still seem thirsty.